Climate change on a smaller scale. My presentation is about how climate change is affecting Chattanooga, Tennessee. What is climate change? According to NASA, climate change is a change in the usual weather found in a place. For example, the recent snowfall in Los Angeles, or warmer winters and cooler summers. Climate change is basically an out of the ordinary type of encounter with our day-to-day weather. In other words, just any abnormal weather than that we're used to. And another personal example will be when I was a kid, I used to go to Ohio every Christmas, and it would snow just about every Christmas. And the past maybe 5 years, we have had green Christmases every single year. So that's just one example of how climate change has affected at least my day-to-day life. Causing climate change. Using NASA again, they say people drive cars, people heat and cool their houses, people cook food. All of those things take energy. One way to get energy is by burning coal, oil, and gas. Burning these things put gases into the air. The gases cause the air to heat up. This can change the climate of a place. It can also change Earth's climate. And I feel like that was the perfect example to use in this situation to easily explain what is causing climate change rather than all the big scientific words. They really make it easy for people like me to understand. Climate change can be caused by just about anything. Climate change can and would even occur naturally. The only difference is that climate change occurring naturally is a very long process. It would take a much longer time for it to occur without humans than with us here. We have sped up the movement so much that climate experts have actually said that we might only have 9 years left to save our planet. Only 9. Back to Chattanooga. Climate change in Chattanooga. After looking at climate change data in Chattanooga dating all the way back to 1879, there are 6 period of records between 1991 and 2020. And I saw those dates, and I used to work at Ruby Falls, so it kind of made me want to look it up. Chattanooga has been recording its climate data since before Ruby Falls was even discovered. So there's bound to be a change, and there is. These period of records are basically abnormal climate changes. For example, one period of record, or POR, is the average number of days that exceed a temperature of 90 degrees Fahrenheit. That POR was 46 days, with July 1st, 2012 and June 30th, 2012, both reaching a temperature of 107 degrees. A conversation to bring up is the highs and lows over the years. Using March as an example, for Chattanooga, Tennessee, the coldest year for March was 1960 at 39 degrees. Fast forward 52 years later, and you get the warmest year for March. The year 2012 had the warmest month of March at about 63 degrees. That's a 24-degree jump in temperature. That is the most drastic change I had found, but it just goes to show that climate change is happening everywhere, and even just Chattanooga's help can kickstart a bigger movement. I also put kind of two and two together that 2012 overall was a very warm year for Tennessee, or at least just Chattanooga, Tennessee, because back to the first point, July and June, 2 different months, had a high of 107. And then again, in March, the warmest year for March is 2012. So 2012 was a really warm year. Maybe we have made some impacts to kind of help climate change in our area since then, but I feel like we can keep moving and do more work to further that process. Regional impacts that are created through the climate change, this was the most interesting part for me to look into, because I'm really glad I found this graph. It shows you exactly what's been going on. So our heat and precipitation in Tennessee are at extreme levels, with heat being the highest, as you can see. And then wildfires, I didn't even imagine, but we're at a high risk for fires. Drought, I kind of guessed, and floods are significant. We don't have anything in the relatively low category. So, thinking of regional impacts, me growing up in Chattanooga and Cleveland area, um, tornadoes, precipitation and flooding, wildfires and droughts. Those were the things that I heard the most. And especially getting older, more tornadoes and flooding and wildfires were the biggest ones. Which brings me to the next point. Climate change in our area has resulted in more wildfires during the dry months and floods during the rainy months. It's hard to forget when Gatlinburg set ablaze and almost took Dollywood. Tornadoes are another big factor. Tennessee is prone to tornadoes, and with more drastic changes in temperature, we might see even more. I mean, if you are from like the immediate area, you would know about the 2011 tornadoes. And back home, I don't know anybody who doesn't know the 2011 tornadoes unless they moved from somewhere else. Um, I was there, and there were 5 different tornadoes that were in different areas. And I remember being in my house with my mom, and we were watching the news, trying to see a tornado that was supposed to be heading our way if it was going to hit us. This tornado that might hit us, um, we start hearing from family and friends like, hey, we heard there's another one touched down. You may want to look into that and see if that one might hit you too. It ended up there being 5, and we were completely surrounded. It was basically like a circle of tornadoes, and if anybody knows tornadoes, they can change on a dime. So it was a really scary moment. Luckily, we were fine. But that's one memory of tornadoes and how crazy that the climate change can change just normal weather patterns into 5 tornadoes circling you. It's like sharks. And like I said about Dollywood, there was a big wildfire um, that was in Gatlinburg, and I remember a lot of horror stories from that wildfire. Families who went to Gatlinburg on vacation stayed in cabins and would leave to go like pick something up and then come back to be with their families only to find out that whole neighborhood of cabins were destroyed, and they found out that their families died in these cabins. Um, and I remember it started going towards Dollywood, and it's just a big impact on the area, and through all because of climate change. If we can just fix or at least work towards a solution, it'll help even in the smallest ways. Okay, an event that has taken place since 1982 and has brought in great revenue to Chattanooga is Riverbend. With climate change on our heels, Riverbend may not be such a fun time anymore. It usually occurs in the month of June, and as we have seen on a previous slide, June holds the highest temperature for Chattanooga, Tennessee, at 107 degrees, something that we have brought up, how 2012 and June. 107 degrees, a music festival packed with people may not be a fun time or even a safe time with temperatures like that. Imagine being packed all together like sardines just to watch someone sing in 107 degrees, and considering it's a warm summer night, humidity, you're right by the river, it's not going to be fun, and it could be really dangerous, honestly, because the temperatures, the humidity, everything getting to you, you're packed, you can't be out, and your body would overheat. It's just dangerous. But losing Riverbend would also be a dramatic hit to the local shops, restaurants, and even the Tennessee Aquarium. Revenue lost to climate change. If we can just make simple changes in Chattanooga alone, we might be able to. I mean, Riverbend is not gone. There is no talk about Riverbend leaving or being canceled or anything, but on the path that we're on, we're gonna hit that point. There is going to be a point where Riverbend is going to be too dangerous to even go to. So if we steer away from that, then there's nothing to lose. So making simple changes could probably give us a better socioeconomic culture in the area. Take action. We could implement bike rental or scooter rental stations in hopes to deter unnecessary too, which would lead to less emissions in the air. I got that idea from like Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. I noticed that they did that a lot. We could implement that and honestly have a lot more. It'd be a lot more fun to ride around Chattanooga on a bike than just kind of walk and then get in your car and then drive somewhere and then keep getting in and out. We could also plant more trees in and around the city to produce more oxygen and maybe even spruce up the look of Chattanooga. We already use the Tennessee River as a renewable resource, but maybe adding solar panels to rooftops could help us just a little bit more. Switch our restaurants and other businesses to reusable containers and bags rather than single-use plastics. Single-use plastics can create more greenhouse gases, and like one example is the Tennessee Aquarium. They have a couple of exhibits that really bring awareness to pollution, and especially single-use plastic pollution. But like say you go through the aquarium, you see these two exhibits, and you're like, wow, that really moved me. Then you go to the gift shop, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy this thing, and they put it in a plastic bag. Kind of counterintuitive. So things like that could be changed and altered, just to make a little bit more improvement in Chattanooga. Lastly, a hopeful outlook. Chattanooga is a very knit community. We have so many fun family attractions and unique experiences, working together to create a calmer future in the response to climate change. It's not a sense of what if, it's a sense of right now. Right now, we need to band together and create new ideas to help our community and our planet. We can at least create a good role model for other towns, cities, and states around us. If we can do that, our future will be full of aquarium days and riverbend nights. Lastly, I've just got my citation page. Thank you for listening.